Jesus said it in his way. Buddha, Lao Tzu, Rumi have all said this in their own way. And that's that this multiverse, this thing that we call the universe, when we say the word universe, we normally mean stars and planets. But beyond that, the thing called reality, before the Big Bang, forever, the foreverness of time space, in that there is no thing that does not exist. Please hear me. There is no thing that does not exist. You can, when we were kids, most of us will remember because we're older folks, Dick Tracy in the funnies. And Dick Tracy had a radio wristwatch, and he could talk into his wristwatch. And everybody thought that could never happen. I mean, that's just some kind of fantasy. No, it's just passé. There is no thing that is not. It doesn't matter how remarkable or how impossible it seems. It's all there, but it's not in physical form. Please understand and hear me. It's not in physical form. It's available and it's present as a part of the great mass of probability. And when you, as Melba did, when you have a vision, and then you bring into your heart, not the vision, but you bring into your heart the feeling of having the vision. How would I feel? How will I feel when this is manifest? That energy in your heart, held with the vision unwaveringly, creates a path of least resistance from the field of probability into your life. And that thing comes forward and manifests. And the only thing that stops it, please hear this, the only thing that stops it is self-doubt. Jesus said, I know I've said this before, I don't think we can say it too many times. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, I should bring a mustard seed to class and show you how tiny that is. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can say to that mountain, move, and it'll move. Now, he didn't say that you have to have this enormous faith. He said in a manner of speaking, he said, you can have this huge doubt, this huge self-doubt, this doubt in the universe and doubt of God and doubt of probability. You can have all huge doubt, but if in all of that darkness, you have a little light the size of a mustard seed and you focus on that, you can say to that mountain, move, and it'll move. So if you can envision that thing that you want, and then hold in your heart what you'll feel like having fulfilled that dream, then you create a magnetic field between you and that probability, and it becomes a positivity. She finds dimes. Oh, look, here's a dime. Oh, look, here's a dime. So my daughter Chauncey and I are constantly looking for dimes. We never see any dimes. Mary finds them all the time. So your story really touches home with me. Thank you.
Linda?
Yes, please, Glenda.
Okay. First, I want to thank everyone for being such an inspiration to me with your stories. I think last time I mentioned that I'm Joe Biden's age, and I figure if he can be influential and something in my eyes? Okay, if he can be influential and do what he wants to do, so should I be able to do the same. And one thing that I really have wanted to do for a long, long time is to get the book that I wrote out, and I had prepared slides for it, now about 2 or 3 years ago, and I thought the best way to do it would be through Zoom. Well, anyway, so I had that vision, as you said, and I probably had not completely owned it, but at some point I must have, because all of a sudden I found myself inviting a fellow that's younger than me, a counselor, to do nourishing relationships workshops with me. And I thought, well, eventually, it could trail off and I could bring in my book that I wanted so much. Well, I still had one reservation, and that reservation is I'm not technically oriented. I know you probably have help with this, with the Zoom, but for me to think of standing up trying to say something and figure out what buttons to do was just a nightmare. I couldn't get over it. Well, lo and behold, in talking to this younger counselor that's going to be now my associate, he says, my wife teaches how to do the Zooms. That's what she does for her occupation for a large company in the US. I said, what? So my dream came true, and this week we were practicing, and she just guided us through the whole thing. In practice, I had nothing to worry about. It just felt like I'd come home. And I thought, gosh, if you have a dream and you hold on to it, and like you say, you vision it, that it is yours and it's done,
Yes,
you do set the law of attraction, you said the molecules or the magnetic energy coming towards you. It's really, really true.
absolutely. Thank you, Glenda. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful story. Beautiful story. You all have been so inspirational to me in your stories. Like, I feel like you're the teachers and I'm the student. You've been beautiful. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things from the book. And one of the things that Joe said, he coined this phrase, making your mind matter. Now you can see that in two ways, like making your mind important, kind of making your mind matter. But what he's really saying is making your mind matter, because your mind lives in your body. Your mind is not separate. You're spiritually, you are separate, but your mind is not separate. Your mind is in your body, and it is your body. And what happens when you die is that the mind stops being in your body, but the mind is your body. Each cell in your body, as we said last week, each cell in your body has individual consciousness. Individual consciousness, all those cells, trillions of cells, each with their individual consciousness, each of them absorbing the energy of experiences that you have and decisions that you make. Because what happens is that you have an experience comes in, and then you make a decision about that experience relative to you, and then that becomes a belief system about who you are. And all of those beliefs are held in your cells. They're held in your body. They're held in your brain. They're held in all the neurons in your gut and in your heart and everywhere in your body. So when Joe's saying making your mind matter, what we need to hear him say is that the mind that you want to have become matter is the clean, clear mind of knowing you are Holy Spirit in action, and knowing that you are the one who has come. You are created of pure light and love and grace. And you are still love and light and grace. That's who you are. We've talked about the amount of your body that's space, 99 point, and then 12 nines after that percent space. And we know that space is not empty. We know that space is more packed full than the things that we call matter. It's packed full of the grace of God, the presence of God, the presence of Holy Spirit, the presence of life, the energy and the intelligence that we could call energetic intelligence or intelligent energy. It's the mind of God. And that's in the space. And the space is the matter of our bodies. So when you change your mind, you change your body. That's what Dr. Joe's teaching us. When you change your mind, you change your body. Now your mind is your subconscious mind. 95% of the thoughts that you have and the awareness and the thinking that you have come from your subconscious mind, which is what? Which is your memory. Is yesterday, is last week, is 40 years ago. Those are the thoughts that we're having. So that's what's occupying the space. So what he's saying is bring a new mind into this. We're going to talk later about how do you change your mind with your mind. We're going to talk about that later this evening, because it doesn't make sense, does it, that you can use your mind to change your mind. How in the heck are you going to do that? Well, but we'll talk about that. But I want to just talk for a moment about the placebos, because we know that physical placebos work. We know that. Like someone can give me a sugar pill and say, Bob, this is just a sugar pill, but it'll heal your asthma. And I say, it'll heal my asthma? Yes, it'll heal your asthma. Boy, that's great. And I take the sugar pill and I stop wheezing. How can that be? That's the placebo. We know it works. I mean, we don't even have to talk about, there's jillions of scientific studies that have shown it works. There's not one person out there that can tell you how it works or why it works. Not one, except maybe Joe Dispenza and some people of his ilk, because he knows how it works. But the mind is superior. And the spiritual mind is superior to the mind. See, here's what happened. Think now before you were born, before you were conceived. There's this great presence. You can almost think of it as the ocean. A great presence that is in all things, in all places, in all space-time, forever in all directions. The presence, the great presence, the consciousness, the great consciousness with a capital C. And you are in that. And you're not different than that. You are in that and you are that. Like you can take a drop of water out of the ocean and say, this is a drop of water, but it's still part of the ocean. And the ocean's still in it. And you put it back in the ocean and it dissolves back into the ocean and it's still the ocean. And you were, at that time, you were in Holy Spirit as Holy Spirit. And then there was a decision made for you to incarnate. Why? Why would you incarnate? You were already in this beautiful, perfect place, because in that beautiful, perfect place, there are no experiences. There's just being. There are no experiences. So if you incarnate into a body, then you have experiences. You have problems. You have obstacles. You have heartbreak. You have incredible ecstasy and bliss and joy. You win wonderful challenges. You lose challenges and you crumble. You go through all these experiences. And if you do those with grace, with the grace that you came into this incarnation with, if you do it with that grace, then every single experience is an expansion in wisdom and joy. An expansion in wisdom and joy. Why is that important? Because that's the wisdom and joy of Holy Spirit. You are God experiencing God. You are God experiencing God. That's why you're here. You are Holy Spirit experiencing itself. You are divine beyond anything you can imagine. You are divine. But see, here's what happens. We come down here and we get into all these bodies, and then we get these little things called egos. Not a bad thing. Egos are not a bad thing. The ego is just my belief about who I am. And I protect it because since I think that's who I am, if I lose my ego, then I lose myself. So I protect it, and I don't want to change. That's why 95% of the thoughts that we have today are the same thoughts we had yesterday, and the same thoughts we're going to have tomorrow, because our ego doesn't want anything new. We got it handled. We know where everything is. We got everything put. The dresser's there, the couch is there, the table's there, the chairs are there, the pictures are there on the wall. Don't move anything. We finally got it the way we want. And you go through the rest of your life without anything changing. What's the point? So we know that the material placebo works. And our challenge now is to be in the divine mind, whereby we send that kind of concentrated effort into our physical bodies, which are made of space, which are made of divine energy and space, but which are also made of belief systems. And those belief systems are alterable. We can change them. We can change those. George Bernard Shaw said, those who can't change their minds can't change anything. Those who can't change their minds can't change anything. We cannot attain what we want. I'm also an author. I have some books in several languages around the world, and I have a new book out, and I'm having a real struggle with it, and I'm going to have to do some more severe editing and spend a lot of money, and it's a real challenge. But it's a novel, and it's going to be a great book. But I just have to hang in with it. But the fact of it is, I'm hearing people talk about their art, or they're talking about their business, or their ideas, or their books that they haven't published, because they're stuck in that belief mind. And the belief mind says you probably can't do it. So I want to offer you a solution to that. So Jesus said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can say to that mountain, move, and it'll move. Now I want to change that a little bit. I want to turn it around. When you have these doubts, when you have anger or resentment, or a feeling of failure, or disdain at yourself or someone else because you feel like you've goofed up, or you're a goof up, or you don't have the power, or what I want you to do is make all of that the size of a mustard seed. It's okay to have it. Just shrink it down to the size of a mustard seed, so it no longer dominates your mind. It's okay to have self-doubt. Just make it tiny. It's okay to doubt yourself. It's okay to doubt me. Just make it tiny. And know, as we've heard tonight, that there's a wind blowing. There's a river flowing through here. We're not alone. Everything's changing. Your body's changing right now. But you have to be willing to let your mind change. And like I said, that's difficult, but we're going to talk a little bit about that after the breakout rooms. We're going to talk a little bit about how you actually use your mind to change your mind. Right now, we're going to go to breakout rooms, and I'm going to tell you what we want you to do in the breakout rooms. Here's what I want you to do. Here's the question I want you to address. How will I know when my emotions are the result of my habitual thinking? Now we know, don't we? We've been here before. We know that our thinking creates feelings, and that our feelings then create thinking, and that the thinking creates feelings. And that's why we go around and around in exactly the same circle. Exactly the same circle. I think this, so I feel this, so I think this, so I feel this, and it just keeps going around and around. So the question that you're talking about, how will I know when my emotions are the result of my thinking? It's important. It's an important question, really an important question, because I want you to dig. I want you to dig into feelings that you have. Let's talk Let's start with some negative feelings. When you feel blue, when you feel lonely, when you feel sad, when you feel like you're grieving, when you feel doubt, when you feel anger, when you feel anxious, when you feel depressed. What thinking brought that about? What were you thinking just before that happened? What kind of thinking that's habitual, that's been going on for years, that validates your belief system about who you are, that validates your ego? That habitual thinking. I want you to talk to the other people in your breakout room, and I want you to really get serious about this. How will I know when the way I'm feeling is being caused by my thinking? The way you'll know is to find out what that thinking is. Talk about that. Dig into yourself and talk about that. Share that with your friends. Now I want to talk about the breakout rooms just for a minute. My dear friends, this is the sacred part of this training. This is where the rubber hits the road. This is where we learn. This is where we really learn. I said that we need to experience and then express. This is the expression. This is your time to dig in there and get your shovel and dig down in there and pull some stuff out that you might not even have known was there. Gosh, my God, this is when I think like this, then I feel like this. I see that now. I'm asking you to do some work. Now, please don't anybody get off subject. Please don't start talking about anything else. We've only got a certain amount of time for this. Please make sure we talk about this, that we talk about this. Make sure everybody gets a chance to talk. Make sure everybody gets a chance to share. And then you can come back and start over and have everybody share again. But let's go to work. And those of you that are listening, listen to me. You may ask clarifying questions of the person that's speaking if you want, but we don't give any advice.